So grateful to be here and very happy to discuss these incredibly important and hard to talk about topics. He has an incredible backbone and staggering moral fiber. Howie is totally committed, completely ethical, totally admirable. No pressure if you can hear this, but honestly, Howie's a hero to me.
John, you joined us before, and it was a pretty incredible kind of testimony you gave, and you just devoted your life to advocacy for child trafficking, and even 9/11 truth. Maybe you could explain to us, in the last decade, what do you think the most challenging parts of coming alive on some of these issues have been?
Probably the hardest thing, and it continues, is just realizing that pretty much everything that I was told and taught since I was in grade school is probably not true.
And hello, good evening, and welcome to the Traffic Report. It is 12:01 in the Eastern Time Zone from the frigid Appalachians to the city of brotherly love all the way out. We are truly covering coast to coast to the beautiful Pacific Northwest. Welcome, Howie and Kathy. Or Catherine. I'm sorry, Catherine. I'm a little punchy, but welcome everybody to the Traffic Report. Where the hell did I get Kathy from?
I was called that my entire life growing up, and when I came to California, I heard another woman call herself Catherine, and I was like, that is such a beautiful name. I'm going to just go to my given name. So I changed it. But
wow. That's kind of a coincidence, but that's cool.
Yeah.
I feel a little less bad now. But
wow. I usually automatically give people nicknames. Like if normally if I would hear Catherine, I might just automatically say Kathy or something. But I've never done that. I've never
Catherine,
done that.
and Catherine is beautiful. I agree.
It fits.
Yeah, absolutely. What a day! What a day! And
what a couple of days. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I was unable to. I wanted to watch the State of the Union address. Unfortunately, I was at work and I was all ready to do it, and then I got a little bit busy, and I only caught the first 10, 15 minutes of it. But I mean, my initial impression, I assumed it went on like that for the entire duration, was that, I've been behind, Trump from the beginning, giving him every chance in the world. Most things I liked, some things, I might be on the fence, but the way he looked tonight, there was, it just felt so good. I was like, man, I've never felt that way about any politician.
Well, everything that said was very encouraging to the American people, and what a leader. What he had to say was pure leadership, everything that he had to say, as well as he's delivered already, folks. The jobs that he was talking about, Apple bringing and the different ones, it was fabulous, absolutely fabulous. And I give him a standing ovation from Northern California.
Coast to coast.
I'm not. Oh, go ahead, John.
I agree with both of you, and I was. It was such a great day. I was exhausted, and I had to take a nap. So I was watching the first 10, 15 minutes of it just before we all got together, and just the tone, and it was great, and it was great. Of course, I have my own special interest, which we all know what that is. It's all our special interest, but the upbeatness of it. I don't think there's been a State of the Union like it, where most of the people in the country are believing that it's going to get better instead of worse. I can't remember the last time I even thought that. And now I believe it, and everything that and so does the dogs. It's a full moon, so get ready for some dog barking, and you're going to hear it tonight. We all got dogs, and but yeah, it was fantastic. And I always remind people this is the first president of the United States that has signed an executive order in the history of the United States on child trafficking, and followed that up by declaring a state of emergency. So things like the Clinton Foundation, when it is found that they have been doing what they're doing, which is trafficking kids in Haiti, that money is gone, and they're gone. So a lot of we're not going to have enough time to cover all the good stuff today. So
yeah.
Just might as well get on with it,
And in the very beginning, what I saw, he was talking about the stock market, and I am not a corporate America type of person. I think corporations have done, many corporations have done irreparable harm to the country, for the sake of profit. But it is. It is
Jeff
good.
Bezos.
What's that?
Jeff Bezos.
Yeah. We saw some stuff today about Berkshire Hathaway, Amazon, and I can't remember the third company that are combining for healthcare. And then I look into that a little bit more. But the bottom line is, if the money is going to at least somewhat trickle down to the workers, then okay, then that can be a little bit more for it. If the three children of Walmart are all worth over $100 billion, and people are still making $725 and no health insurance, and they destroy towns, they go in and just put every small business out of business.
Right.
But for right now, it seems as though like they're on board with sharing the profits. And, listen, everybody, well, most normal people, not including myself, have 401ks and retirement plans. And, they would always give the president credit for a surging stock market. And, and I followed very closely. And this thing has been surging from day one. And they never, ever, ever mention it. They never mention it. Like,
they are finally starting to say that Trump is responsible for the stock market being the way that it is.
How could they not? Come on.
Well, because they're that way. They don't have to say anything positive.
Well, we know they're not. Until those companies come apart, which is, I think it's going on right now. They're not going to say anything. They're locked in a death struggle with the deep state and their agenda, which is totally opposite to the one Donald Trump has.
But numbers are numbers, and when you look at those numbers, and even Twitter stock is doing fairly well. It's been on. I follow Twitter stock very closely because after the Project Veritas coming out and proving that we've always known that they shadow ban and proven they shadow ban, but even Twitter stock has withstood that, and there's as far as that goes. But all I'm going to say is. And I'm going to watch this after the show, and I apologize for not being able to watch it. And I really
for having to work for a living.
Well, yeah, we call it work, but he looked.
I call it work.
He had a twinkle in his eye, and it went beyond. It went beyond getting tax reform passed. And there was something else. there was something else on his mind.
I know you guys know this. This is one of the big fish who has just fallen, and not to an indictment yet. But when Andrew McCabe steps aside, that is huge. I mean, this is one of the guys who are the dirty FBI, who was right in there, and Comey, that idiot, tweeting his support for what a great special agent Andrew McCabe is. And there's an Inspector General's report that's coming, and that got read, and McCabe was out of there. So stuff is going on. 9,000. Kathy McCauley will update this number, I'm sure, by the end of the show. But it could be 10,000 indictment. There is, and I think that's what that twinkle in the eye is about. Trump has never been part of the globalist, elite, and he's he's got to be delighted that these trees are starting to fall. And like I said, we're just at the beginning, I believe, and I can't wait.
Well,
but that was huge.
People can say what they want about his moral failures and having been married as many times as he has. I've been married more times than Trump has been, FYI. But anyway, they can say what they want. He still cares, and he knows about family, and he knows that healthy families produce healthy countries. And I have said for I don't know how long that I truly believe the reason that they have allowed the child molestation to get out of hand the way that they have is because a damaged society is an easier controlled and manipulated society.
Absolutely.
And I really do think so. They don't care.
Yeah. And what president has ever talked about vaccines? He and you know why? Because he has a child that quite possibly is autistic because of vaccines. And nobody has mentioned that in any sort of capacity. So it's
he did talk about that the cost of pharmaceuticals was going to come down, and he said, he goes, you watch. So he's evidently on top of that. One thing that really impressed me about what he was talking about, he even mentioned people that are in prison. I don't know if you guys
No, tell us, Catherine, because you heard the whole thing. You're the
well, no.
Me and Howie, we heard a few minutes.
That they are going to develop programs for people that are in prison so they can have a second chance.
Wow.
And I love that. And we need to clean out our prisons and make the islands that I keep talking about for the pedophiles. And make a murderer island, make a pedophile island, and everybody else, they're going to have to work their stuff off. If it's blue collar crime, then you're going to go do a blue collar payoff. If it's white collar crime, you're going to go do a white collar crime payoff.
Yeah, and what Republican president ever has given a shit about people coming out of jail? Never. It's all party line, law and order.
He's about.
Well, they say they do, but they never do anything.
Yeah, they don't even say it. That's like. For a sitting Republican president of the United States to even mention that, okay, well, let's try to help these guys. It's a different country. It's a different country.
Has a family member that is in prison, or any person that has a family member that works for the prison system, that prison system is big business, and they're just keep growing it.
Yep.
However, California.
They're
let a bunch of people loose because their prisons are so full. They kicked out a bunch of, sex offenders and,
Yeah, people have no idea, really. But, the analogy that was given to me and I always use is, you can't walk into the woods for 20 years and walk out in 20 months. And there's so many areas that need to be addressed. And,
the way to do that has got to be, just an unbelievable minefield, and I feel like they're doing it. And when you've got guys like McCabe going, "Oh, okay, I'm out of here," I mean, something and everything else that's going on. It's
John,
just,
are you talking about the child trafficking, child molestation? Are you talking about that specifically, or in general?
Just everything. I mean, that has been like an earthquake, which is good. And I don't think that it's now 12 o'clock and
someone commented on the YouTube that they want you to make the cuckoo clock strategic. I don't know exactly how you're.
Yeah. When we're saying something nutty, but that with me and Howie, that's like all the time. They'll just have to mix it in if they want to. But.
I'm always interested. I mean, I've seen Cory Booker is trending on Twitter right now, and apparently he looked very butthurt about the and he also said. He's also been quoted that releasing the memo that will be released, apparently, and we're all waiting, and there's nothing that can be done about that because the people, and I think, social media has been responsible for getting it out there. They've ignored it for probably a week and a half, and obviously it's been trending all over Twitter and. Everyone in my people have changed their names to release the memo, and Cory Booker said it would be treasonous to release that memo.
Cory Booker is such a scumbag. I mean, even even the scumbags call Cory Booker a scumbag.
I'm not sure where Cory Booker got his education from, but he doesn't understand the definition
of treason. Yeah, not at all. I'll give you.
Isn't he from like Baltimore? Maryland.
No, he's from. No. I'll give you. I'll tell you exactly where he's from.
New Jersey.
Yes, and he was the mayor of Newark.
Yeah, that's right. I remember it was a Newark cop that was talking about him, and they were like, "Oh my God."
And for anybody, and for some reason, this is how like perception gets very mixed up. I had a job where I had to actually pick up employees in Newark, New Jersey, at like 5 o'clock in the morning. And when I tell you that Newark, New Jersey, is an unbelievably scary place. I mean, depressed beyond, and I don't even think I was like in the bad parts. And for some reason,
not on the industrial side of town.
Yeah, well, what they did was they built they put a hockey arena, they put a baseball stadium right on the edge, and like one little area, and literally if you went, less than a mile in any direction, so people would come in, they would get off the highway, go in for their sporting event or their minor league baseball, blah blah blah, but you wouldn't walk anywhere else around New Jersey, and I think what happened was. John Corzine was the senator of New Jersey who became governor. And
yes, I remember that one. Yep.
His seat became vacated, and Cory Booker sort of like
and didn't it become vacated because of some horrible corruption, and they couldn't even they had to get somebody just as corrupt in there, and there was Cory, so they wasn't that the case? I'm pretty sure I remember Corzine.
John Corzine, he was a senator, and then he became governor.
Yeah,
now I'm getting a little mixed up. But he didn't just run normally. The seat was vacated for some reason. Yeah, John Corzine was.
They couldn't find anybody dishonest enough.
The bottom line was they always touted Cory Booker as a shining star for all the amazing things he's done in Newark, New Jersey, and I beg anybody, take a drive get off of. I think it's you get off the Jersey Turnpike, or you can take.
Let me tell you how that worked, Howard. Let me tell you, because I watched it happen. Cory Booker was on Twitter, and people would tweet him and say, "Cory, there's a pothole over here. What are you going to do about that?" And literally, he would jump in his car, run over to the pothole, and call the city and get the city on the pothole. And he
made it look like
people would run him around all over the city from tweets, and he would respond, and that's how he got.
Wow.
I'm not even kidding.
Well, I gotta read this.
And I was taken by him. I was like, what a guy. What a guy. I was so happy.
It's all perception. I gotta read this while we're talking about Newark.
Newark has bigger problems than potholes. But, I mean, it's
the whole city's a pothole. What are you talking about? But I just got to read this. This is and this is more corrupt. Ray probes evidence of tampering, blackmail, political favors inside the FBI, and little McCabe. He's tried to resign. He wants to preserve that pension, but what it says is McCabe faces immediate termination. So you might not be getting your pension there, Andy. So Cory needs to listen up.
None of them should.
Wow, no. that is so awesome.
They should not be allowed to get their pension and then go to prison, so they can. No.
It's just give them commissary,
No, they get busted just like the next person. No, 1,000 times no. That's what's so wrong about this.
And Twitter sucks. Look, I don't know what you're looking at, but I'm looking at the trends. Number one, State of the Union address. What's right above that? Stormy Daniels reportedly denies having an affair with Trump. Gee.
What?
Yep.
What?
That's Twitter. That's Jack. Hey, Jack, how you doing? Yep. This stupid story of somebody denying having an affair. What is that doing? Right above the trend. They're not.
I don't have that.
No, I do. So maybe it's just me. I don't know. But.
Yeah, I was wondering. It's always interesting because like I said, I mean, the little bit that I saw, and I'm sure the rest of it was just as wonderful. The other side's rebuttal. And I didn't even realize that there was a Kennedy in the House of Representatives, and he was the one. Catherine? Did you watch the rebuttal?
I did not.
Oh, okay. So
I watched 2 hours of the State of the Union address. I thought that was a good deed.
No. You did your part. I didn't know. I just always. I was wondering who they were going to. I was wondering who they were going to.
Forget the rebuttal anyway. I don't care what they say.
Yeah.
Don't give them any press.
Just more bullshit. And believe me, I love, John F. Kennedy and Robert Kennedy, but I really haven't seen too much, since then with that family. Really haven't. Sorry, But anyway, and let me just do a couple of shout outs before because I think we're just about to leave the political arena and talk about some great stuff in the state of Tennessee, which I didn't expect to find. I really didn't, but it's amazing how he's taught me what happens when you make a couple phone calls. So at any rate, some of the best news I heard today, and this is the story I tell over and over again, is, and I'm not even going to mention her name right now because there's legal stuff going on, but people who watch the show know who it is, and she has a state in the union gave her little 2-year-old, 3-year-old daughter back to her abuser, and she went to jail fighting to get that kid back, and it's been almost 6 years, and it looks like
that really good legal things are happening in that case. And I mean, I will just keel over if that's the outcome. She's going to come on the show. She's going to share about how she did it. We're all, I mean, we talk about this a lot, all these networks forming and legal advocacy groups, and that's just the best news I've heard. I spoke with Tim Hotham. Please go over to our Facebook page, the Traffic Report Radio Show. You'll find a post to Tim's page on there, and they've started a store. And Tim, being the person that he is, just will not ask for donations, but I have no such, problems with that. There's a great store that they've opened. I'm going to have, some of that stuff and wear those shirts, in memory of his brother, Rod, Justice for Rod on Twitter. And that's a guy, that was fighting corruption decades ago and got murdered for it. Tim's been, and his wife Tracy have been fighting that battle. And so they've got that going, and there is a PayPal account with the store. So you can, guess what? You can make donations. So
Nice.
we've gotten that out, and they're starting to make some headway. And that's one of the cases that could bring this all down. And so I think those are my shout outs and my good news.
Yeah. We've been, I'm not sure what the word is, but we need to, Tim's story still needs more attention.
Yep.
I don't know if he's been able to secure any other podcasts, but we need to do a little bit more. We said we would, and we need to follow up on that. And
and I do, and I talked to Tim, and right now. What he's trying to do, he's got all this information. He's trying to put it together in the form of a book. And wow, what a book that would be. So that's kind of... and that was, and when he was on the show, I don't know how familiar Catherine is with the story, but it was so intricate and so, there were so many moving pieces to the story and very famous people. I said, wow, this is not a podcast. This is literally a book, because or a season of a documentary or a show. My God,
it sounded like something I wanted to read.
About this story.
I wanted to. It was he's on.
Help him out. Help them out. He works like Howie works for a living. They're trying to keep their head above water and get this book out, and he just he's got some great. Trish is going to get him on. Jason Goodman is going to get him on Crowdsource. But right now he's got everything he can do just keep his head above water and get to work and get back. So check out. Go help him out.
We're talking about deep state, high level
stoning. William Cohen, shit.
Child trafficking, pedophilia. This has small towns involved. This has everything. It has absolutely everything. It's and this, Rod Hotham needs to be, a household name.
Yep. So.
I want to say on that. So
get over there, check it out. Our Facebook page is growing. The support group for not only survivors of child sexual abuse, but parents that have had Department of Children and Families or whatever it's called in your state, take their kids and place them with pedophiles. It's truly overwhelming, but we're making progress. We'll be following this one case particularly closely, and all these survivors that have been on the show, V, Missy, Catherine, Becky, everybody. They're so capable. They're making headway in all these different areas, and it's just I can't even imagine what this is all going to look like in 6 months. I just can't. So, and it's going to be good. So, Anybody want to talk about Tennessee?
Well, we can get into Tennessee a little bit, but I mean, I still have a few more things on my mind that I just have to, we did it for the Golden Globes, and it's hijacked the hashtags, and Catherine's very well versed in all this. For the Golden Globes, I was able to get a little more traction, but this week, we're in award season. And this week it was, I didn't even realize, and I woke up Sunday before I went to work, and it was the Grammys, and I didn't realize it was the Grammys. So, started another one, and we, tried to hijack the Grammy hashtags, and, the pedophiles in music and all the stories. And it doesn't even have to be that. It's just like, everyone's, just get in there, and whatever you need, like, that's your audience. People are paying attention that day, and, shake it up. But for the Academy Awards, which I believe are the first week in March, we need literally all hands on deck. And and this whole Me Too thing, fine, whatever. I'm against sexual harassment and unwanted advances as much as anybody, but that is different than pedophilia in Hollywood. Child rape in Hollywood. And, I'm sure with the
pioneers at Gabe Hoff, Hoff, at an Open Secret, those guys are going to be involved in that with us. And we really need to give that hell.
And Catherine,
now is the time for everyone who cares to strike while the iron is hot and go hard. Go hard. And, it's emotionally draining. I don't care what, everybody, you don't realize it because you're so taken by it, because you're so, how could you not be if you care about kids? And you just go for it, like on Twitter or Facebook, whatever you do, and you don't realize how emotionally draining that it is until you step back and you're like, oh my gosh, I feel like I've been in a war. You were. You were. Because we are. And we need to stand up, and we need to hit hard.
Well, it's all, for me personally, I've only been doing this, a little over a year, and I've always found that it was an emotional role, particularly in the beginning. Some days I would feel really good. Some days I would feel despondent. I don't feel as despondent anymore. I always feel like, I don't have those bad days. There's much, much more, positivity, going forth. And, but we still, social media wise, and I think everybody, uses social media. We still have to be effective with strategies, not talking to ourselves, not being in the echo chamber, and using, and getting things out there as much as possible. Obviously Sunday is Super Bowl, and
the number one child trafficking event in the world every year, the Super Bowl.
Right. The biggest day for child trafficking.
Might want to say something about that. Yeah.
And we could find articles, that talk about this. And so why people are, tweeting about the Eagles, the Patriots, Super Bowl, Tom Brady, whatever, start throwing those articles. Hey, by the way, while you're kicking back with your, chips and salsa, there's children, being raped in Minnesota.
Yeah. And while we're on, and we're still on politics kind of, but the 2018 elections are coming up, and I've actually made some good contacts and progress in this area. We need to get people in Congress that are going to support, our president in this agenda, because normally through the illusion of politics, you get a backlash whenever there's whoever gets in, and it fills up with the other party. You know, it's like a pendulum swinging, and nothing gets done. So I have my local state representative, actually, who I know and who's actually helped me, you know, with an issue. And he's a Republican senator. His name's Morgan Griffith. He's our district in Southwest Virginia. You need to get out there in your state and find out who's running in the entire state, and support people that have a record or that aren't part of this, you know, good old boy system, and that are going to stand
otherwise
up.
known as the Democrats.
Yeah, right now, yeah, I can't think of one. And believe me, I'm an equal opportunity hater, you know, in the political you know, arena. But I would love to find a Democrat that's, you know, standing up for, you know, child issues, you know. But and believe me, if I run across one, you'll be
Dianne Feinstein co-wrote a child trafficking bill. I don't know what all it said, but I did write to her at one point asking for her help. She actually has a few letters for me, but anyway.
Yeah, you know what, Diane, get the Presidio scandal prosecuted, you know, and but you know, and they all, and I'm hoping, and I think this is going to happen. That a lot of them are gone. They're gone.
So, well, sadly, Feinstein's going to win, and she will be 85 when her term starts. Obviously, 91 when it ends. She's been there forever. I mean, she was. I don't know if she was the mayor of San Francisco or something. I mean,
yes,
like the early 70s. I mean,
she almost got shot when she was the assistant mayor, and they shot the crazy guy that shot Harvey Milk.
She's not going to lose. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, well, she's not going to lose. So, I mean, that's, you know, etched in stone. But in Pennsylvania, Senator Bob Casey, and if he's listening, he will be probably in a tight election. And I assure you that there will be some lunatics standing at the corner of Grant and Roosevelt Boulevard for weeks, making sure, you know, and his father was the governor of Pennsylvania. His father also needed a double I'll give you a quick story. I know nobody cares, but his father, Bob Casey Sr., needed a double transplant after being governor. And the story goes, and it was like a heart and a liver or something, and it was a very complicated match. Okay, yeah, and it just so happened that an African American man was beaten to death, I believe, outside of Pittsburgh. You know, they didn't harm his internal organ. You know, wasn't shot. He was beaten to death, and just happened to be a perfect match for his father. You know, he was already a sick man. I don't know how much longer he lived after that. But the interesting thing was that this African-American man that was beaten to death had been to prison. And the story goes that when you're in prison, they know your blood type.
Sure they do.
And it just so happened that he was able to get that double transplant. And, you know, it's one of these little stories that don't garner a whole lot of attention, but one that does is, you know, the Caseys, and they come from the same part of Pennsylvania, maybe in the same town as Joe Biden, the Biden family, before they moved away, and
creepy Joe Biden.
Yeah, and creepy. You know, one of the videos during the Senate ceremonial swearing in, Joe was so comfortable with Bob Casey Jr.'s daughter, and I mean, he had his arm around her during the picture. She stuck around, and I mean, it's just one of these things that, man, you know, how
old was she?
She was 16. She was about 15, 16, but she knew her place. Like, she wasn't one of these that she even had to, like, go to him, she knew that when the picture was taken, she would be standing next to Joe. And I mean, I'm talking, he literally has his, I can tweet it out again. I've been tweeting out a lot.
All right.
So,
Well, on that line, I just tweeted out the TBI website that we're going to be talking about tonight, which is ithastostop.com.
There's only 20 minutes left, so you might
I had a great conversation with. So we'll switch gears into what we're the show topic.
Sorry.
Tennessee, Tennessee Pedos. I mean, last week we were seeing. I don't think. Yeah, that Sakatchee County. I talked to the TBI agent about that, and they have no shortage of problems in Tennessee, but they're making some headway, and it's this is another guy in my network here, and I'm just trying to refer to my notes here. Josh Devine, who's the public information officer for the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. We had a nice conversation on the phone this morning, and I had already looked at their website, and there's a few things that are really new. But what I didn't know was the state legislature, and this is all in what we're talking about. Not just in Congress and your state houses. You need to get people in there. But the state house in Tennessee passed a law a year ago. They got 4 new agents, and that's all they do. They're dedicated to putting child rapists in jail. The state law enforcement, tends to focus on, the trafficking aspects and the prostitution, that's going on. And those are networks. I mean, that's a really good focus. But what's happening, and I'm sure they got 4. They probably need 40, more. And but what they're doing is they're maximizing their resources, and they're forming partnerships between the small little town, in Tennessee and Nashville PD and everybody else, and their agents go out and train different departments on what to be looking for. And while their focus isn't really on specific, these lone wolf pedophiles, they're involved in all of that. I mean, and any alerts that go out on missing children. Bringing law enforcement's awareness up and their effectiveness and their ability to call in the big boys, up to the feds, and that's what we're working on here, to have a cohesive relationship between the feds right down through the state level, down to the local level, and they're working on it. And this is, they have, I'm going to tweet out too, they have a a state hotline, which is 855-55 TNHTH, and that's for any victim of child trafficking, of child sex abuse, and what was interesting was talking to him about, and I hope people are listening to this, as a law enforcement officer. They're not allowed really to discuss politics, but you could read what he was saying and not saying. But what we were talking about last week was these predators that have slipped through the sex offender registry, who are operating the local corruption, like Sakatchee County, where you've got a police constable, it was a commissioner, and others that are. It seems like they're slipping through that loophole, and they're getting light sentences, and that's not something a state law enforcement. I'm sure they asked for that, but it's the public that needs to put pressure on the legislature and the judges to change the laws, and he seemed to think that's. And they've seen the same seismic shift that we've seen, in just the past 6 to 8 months. I'm sure, from the president down, that's trickling down, and these guys are welcoming this, because I think a lot of the law enforcement agencies feel kind of like we felt, when we started this. It's like, is anybody even listening? So,
John, did you get a sense? And I don't want to pick on Tennessee, but there are some pretty rural areas of Tennessee. For lack of a better term, backward thinking.
Yeah. We talked about that too. Is you've got
where it's not even considered. Where like some of these things, like a 13-year-old girl, it may be part of the quote unquote culture.
Well, and 10-year-olds. I mean, 10-year-olds are getting married. I mean, my God, and this guy was, knows about this. It's not, really something a state law enforcement agency can address. But my God, I mean, it just, that's kind of what we're talking about in the big picture. I mean, the legislature, the judicial system, that all needs to address that. Because, culturally, it's there are different areas where this is accepted. It allows it to operate. It's probably it's child rape. It's no different than they're marrying. Okay, so 9-year-olds in Muslim countries. Well, they're marrying 10-year-olds in Tennessee for God's sake. So man, do we need? And this is. You can't lay this at the feet of the FBI or the Virginia State Police or the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. That's at the feet of you and the people that live around you in your community and our communities all across this nation that allows stuff like that to go on. And you're not down at every commission meeting, and you're not in the face of your local senators. That's on us. So that's
and it's an to me, it's an indictment of the entire country. I mean, I forget what they call it. The something hills of Tennessee. Oh God, there's a special area where it's some of the poorest areas of the entire country.
Appalachia, that's where I live.
Appalachia.
And Southwest Virginia. And my God, I mean, you go up to some of these towns not far from here, and it's just incredible. The poverty that exists that allows this to flourish. These kids are worth less than nothing. Not that they're worth any more in New York. I mean, they're taking, or DC. The DC girls. It's systemic. But that being said, that's up to us in our individual states and communities to change this. And when you got a president that's fighting this corruption, they're going to have a hell of a lot of money to do this. Because if anybody can get that $43 trillion back, that Catherine Fitts, F-I-T-T-S, search her on YouTube, and she is the former assistant secretary of HUD, which is a money laundering organization, housing and urban development. And that woman has tracked every penny of $43 trillion that has been taken out of this country and looted. And if we had half of that stuff that you're talking about, Howie, that poverty disappears. You get a pension, there's no limit to how we could change the society for the better, and medical care and all those things that they're up there in Congress just bullshitting about. That's all they're doing. Oh, well, Social Security and the trust fund and Medicaid and Medicare, it's all horse shit. It's smoke and mirrors, divide and conquer, keep people worried, so they're not paying attention to the fact that they're raping our kids. So.
Absolutely.
Well,
God bless the TBI. They're doing a hell of a job, and
that's what I was going to say, John. Is shout out to that agent for giving you time. It sounds like you were able to talk with them for a bit, anyway.
Yeah,
sounds like you covered quite a bit.
Yep, and believe me, that's what we're doing. We're networking with local law enforcement, with state law enforcement, and that's just going to continue and continue. So, and there's a couple of areas that I'm not even going to get into, but when we have crimes that we're seeing being committed, or, against, by anybody, by DCF or some lone wolf, child rapist, whatever it is, we're going to, and everybody's going to do that. That's the kind of relationship that you're supposed to have with your law enforcement.
And it was probably refreshing for this agent who's probably up to his, who's got more work, thinking it's a thankless job and nobody's paying attention, and basically spitting in the ocean. And when he gets a call out of the blue and from somebody, it's like, whoa, people are, he might not be a social media person, he might not, Pizzagate or Pedogate or anything, and it's like, wow, people are paying attention to this, and that I'm sure that
the FBI knows about hashtag.
Well,
Pizzagate. They know about it,
right?
They sure as hell do. But yeah, I think, and I just remember that from being in the fire service. I mean, if you got one person, over your career, there was more than a few, or more than one, but to come back and just say, hey, thanks, thanks for what you guys are doing. What do you need? What do you, that's how our society is supposed to be, because all these people in law enforcement and the fire service and, your hospitals and, they bust their ass, I think this,
well, I think, we started off on the show, like, how great things are. And, everybody needs to feel good about what's going on and things that are happening. But, we always said, like, as we speak right now, I mean, there are children en masse across this country, going through the things that we talk about, being raped, being abused. So, why we want to feel good about the direct...
Right. Specifically because of the moon, because of the full moon. The super blue, red moon. Those sick bastards will be out there howling at it. Murdering children.
And I mentioned this earlier. We will have a someone that I've known for coming up on a year, I would say. Someone who has just an unbelievable story to tell. Has never gone public with it, and she will be a guest on the show. And I'm not exactly sure how many specifics she can go into, but she's already committed to coming on the show with her private investigator, and even in a roundabout kind of way, explaining how this happens in small towns and how many people are involved, how sick and depraved it is, and that will be coming up hopefully within the next month.
Wow, fantastic!
And yeah.
We're just about. Just a couple more things I needed to say about Tennessee. That they're really cool initiatives that they have going. It's all through ithastostop.com. That's their website. You'll have links to a lot. There's survivor stories on there. There's the hotline. I just tweeted out the hotline, and a really cool thing that they because a lot of these victims of this don't want to talk on the phone to anybody. So they identified that, and they have a text hotline that it goes through to, I believe, the FBI, which is the National Child Trafficking. But you can do it by text, more anonymously for people who are not really crazy about talking to anybody on the phone or coming forward. So that's a thing. There's another a few operations. Just check out that website, share it.
Yeah, say it again, John, so people.
It's ithastostop.com, and it just went out. It'll be in the show notes. It got tweeted out on the Twitter feed. So really cool. I half expected to, just hear, well, we're just doing the best we can, but it seems like they're doing better than that, and they're adding people totally dedicated to this. At least 4. That's good, and if we want more, you've got telephone numbers to your state legislators. You elect them. So 2018's coming up, folks.
Maybe we can help them out with the hashtag.
Absolutely.
I have 2 seats coming up in California that I'm going to be campaigning for. So, yep.
So yeah, check it out. Operation Someone Like Me. So what a great guy. He like you said, must have been very busy, and took the time, and it was nice to get. He was willing. I mean, they obviously can't, and I wasn't going to put him on the record. And I would have told him if it was, but other than the initiatives that they're doing, but to hear. That they know what's going on, that they know what a bad problem this is, and they're doing everything they can, and they support us. They need our support.
Punishment. You have to start at punishment. I was going to jump in and say that several times tonight. You have to start at punishment.
Yeah. And those few cases, and. And I think we'll be probably taking a 50-state tour of how they're doing. I'm in Virginia, so Virginia State Police is, I don't know when we'll get the time.
We have so much dirt on your state.
that's well, I'm the guy to call or
I apologize. I was supposed to call. I was supposed to call that Mountain Signal service company, and I'll be doing that first thing in the morning. So I'll give you an update on that. I had for the David.
We're going to have to start doing some live stuff because we're running out of. There's no way in 2 hours a week we can cover this. Catherine, having her here, she's just brought so much more to the table and information. So.
Okay. I'm going to throw this out there before we go because we only have a couple of minutes left. Next program, I would like to tell my Disneyland story because I have a Disneyland story. Yep. And it's
you can tell any story that you want. Okay, we'll start up. Make a note.
No, it's pretty major, honestly.
I'm sure it is.
No doubt with that company. No doubt. No doubt. We've taken a couple shots at them before and open it up. Just you guys figure out what we're going to call the show, and I'll get the promo out. So, but I'm sure it'll be interesting. That's just going to be
an aside, and who knows? Yeah. The memo could be released by Thursday.
That's true. In
the name of Jesus.
Absolutely.
I was expecting to hear the music so much sooner.
It's any second now.
There.
Thank you, everybody. We'll see you Tuesday.
Thursday.
Oh yeah, Thursday.
Good night.
Thanks, Howie.
Good night.
Good night.